Next up in our series of Photoshop assignments is blend modes, assignment number 10. I'm going to hop over here to Photoshop to show you kind of where we're headed. Today, here's what you'll do. You'll work with a file that looks like this to begin with. It's something that I made, and I'll go into more detail in a minute. But the idea here is that you will take it from the way it looks when you first open it up and dramatically change the way it looks as you work with some things that I am going to show you here in just a couple of minutes, right? So you're going to take it from where it is right now and make it different. Now yours won't look just like mine when you get it done. You'll decide exactly what you want to do to it, but I'm going to show you some options in this video, so let's get to work, shall we? I'm going to close all of these out. I'm going to hop back over to Google Classroom, and I'll show you how you can proceed with this. I'm going to go to one of the digital media classes, and I'll go to classwork. On the Thursday assignment, there is a help page or a handout here, and the help page looks like this. And there's not a ton of information on there, but you can the things that you can do to this file once you get it downloaded is you can do any combination of what you see right here. You can change the stacking order of the layers. I'm going to show you how to change the opacity of a layer. You could transform it, Control-T, transform something that's on a layer. This is kind of the star of the show today, blend modes. We'll talk a little bit about layer visibility, and then you could also do things that came from the previous assignment, the one right before this, on layer styles, like you could do glows or drop shadows and things like that if you want to. All right, so let's get back over to here. The other thing that's available here on Classroom is the document itself. So here's what we're going to do. You'll click on that blend modes document. It will look kind of like this. Same routine as in the previous assignment, but if you weren't around for that one, if you didn't do it, up here on the top right hand side there's a 3-dot menu up there. So I'm going to click that 3-dot menu, and then there's an option here for open in new window. I'm going to click that. And again, it's going to make a new tab open on your browser, and up here on the top right hand side you have a little series of buttons. I want to download that file, so I'm just going to use the download button that's up here on the top right hand side. I'll just click that, and it will be put into your downloads folder. Now what I can do is hop over to Photoshop, and I can open, and I'll go look in the downloads folder. And I just have to arrange this, and here it is. It's called number 10, blend modes, and I'm going to open that document. You zoom in on that. Mine looks really small here. I'll zoom out some. That looks pretty good. All right, so here's what the document will look like to begin with. Now, the first thing I want to do is just kind of a quick run through of what all is in there. Now, to show you that, I'm going to, I don't think I can move this over. I can't. I'm going to go over to the layers panel, and these little eyeball buttons that are next to every layer, this is one of the options that you have today actually. It's called layer visibility, and it doesn't really destroy anything, but if you click an eyeball, and I'm going to go ahead and click all of them. I'm just working my way down. I'm clicking all of the little eyeball buttons that are next to the layer names. It just turns that layer off. It's like a light switch. On, off, on, off, on, off, right? So you can turn layers off just so they're temporarily not visible, and then you can turn them back on if you want to be able to see them again. So let's look at what we've got. There is a background layer on the layer panel, and it's just black. Now you could change that, right? You could come along here and put a gradient on there, or you could paint it a different color. That's one of the options that you have. You could change the background, and it might make a difference in the way that your file looks at the end. We've got all of these images have to do with communication, being connected with one another. And so this globe that is down here on this layer, it's a graphic art piece, and it shows lines jumping all around the globe, just showing how people are connected all over the world. That's what it's supposed to kind of communicate to you there. There is a selection of a laptop that has a small cell phone laying on it. Do you see some feathering in that? I hope you do. There is a dictionary page that has the word communication, because again, that's kind of the theme of this whole thing. It's all about connection, communication, people being in touch with each other in different ways that they do it. All right, so there's that dictionary. All right, and then you've got an Instagram icon, and then you've got this little piece that says social network, and it has, it's like a touch screen. So there's that, and you've got a Twitter icon, and you've got a Facebook icon. And there's this just kind of a graphic element that looks cool that you could use if you want to. There is a Snapchat icon. There is a wink emoji. There's some texting hands, a hand holding a phone and texting. And then there's also a TikTok icon. All right, so all of these things have to do with your communication, with being connected. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and turn all these back off. I'm just turning off all those eyeball buttons again. And I'm going to start showing you things that you can play around with today to make this. Remember, your job is you have to take it from where it is and then make it look different somehow. And there's lots of different ways you could do that. So, like I said, one thing you could do is do something different on the background if you want to. I'm not going to. On the globe, I'm going to turn on and then select the globe layer. Now, here's one of the stars of the show today that I want to show you right up here. You can see where it says layers. That's your layer panel. And then down here it says normal. That's a blend mode. It's called a blend mode. And blend modes you just have to play with them. They're hard to explain. They have to do with what's beneath them. And sometimes you might change a blend mode and it really makes a cool effect, and sometimes it does nothing. But let me show you a couple of ideas. Like if I go, and if you float over them, it kind of shows you what it's going to do. Like if I stop here on color burn, well, color burn makes that whole globe disappear. I don't really want that. I could do that with the eyeball button, right? But there's other things that don't just make it disappear. And if you just float your mouse over them, I think it's going to give you kind of a heads up or kind of a peek at what it would do. So color dodge, and you might have to click on them to find out what they do. I'm not real sure with your computers at school. Now see here's the one I actually kind of like, this hard light blend mode. If I go back up here to normal, here's what that globe looked like. I go down here to hard light, and look how the blue got really intense, and some of the lighter blues got knocked out. I really like that one. I think it's cool. But I also wanted to, look at that. What do you think about vivid light right there? Woo. And see, the thing is, some people would love that. Other people, nope, not so much. It just depends on what you like. Look at luminosity. Luminosity has the tendency to take a layer and make it black and white. Some people love it, right? I'm going to go hard light. So all I'm doing on that globe layer is I'm just going to change the blend mode of that layer. That's one of the options that you have. I'm going to move up to the laptop-phone layer, and I'm going to turn it back on. Now, here's what I'm going to do with this one. I'm going to do a Control-T, and I'm going to transform it. All right, and I'm going to make it bigger for one thing. And this is another option that you have. You could take anything that is in the file and make it bigger, make it smaller, move it around, put it in a different location. So I'm making this bigger and kind of dropping it down into the corner, and I'll hit my check mark up here. And then here's another thing I want you to know about. Again, up here at the top of the layer panel, there's an opacity setting which affects the entire layer. And so I'm going to go here. My monitor's not refreshing completely, so you still see that transform box on there, but it's not really there. I don't know what it's doing. But I'm lowering the opacity of that layer, and I'm fading that out a little bit. I want it to be visible, but I don't want it to be so visible that you just can't see through it or anything. So I'm lowering the opacity on that, and that's another option that you have today, is lowering the opacity. All right, I'm going to move on to this dictionary page. I'm going to do a Control-T, and I want to transform that. Now I'm going to hold the Shift key so I can stretch this. It's going to kind of, some people say, you messed it up. But if you hold the Shift key, you can stretch it in any direction that you want. And I'm going to do something like that. I'm going to make it really big, and I'll go ahead and hit my check mark here. And maybe I can I make that, it doesn't matter. trying to get that box to disappear, and my monitor's just not refreshing very well. Now, this looks like, oh gosh, you just kind of ruined it there, Mr. Arvin, but until I play with a blend mode. That's the thing. If I come along here too, I'm going to stick that on Darken blend mode. And again, you can try out different kinds of things, but I'm going to put it on Darken blend mode. And what happens is pretty much the white of the page on the dictionary just goes away, right? And you can still see the lettering, which is what I want, but you don't really see the page so much anymore. So I'm going to use the Darken blend mode, and I might also drop the opacity just a little bit. So you could do obviously a combination of blend modes and opacities. All right, let's do this on for Instagram. I'm going to do a Control-T transform, and I'm going to put Instagram kind of up here in the corner, make it a little bit smaller. All right, that works a little bit better. That was better this time. And on this one, I'm going to do something that we talked about in the previous assignment. I'm going to go to the FX button at the bottom of the layer panel, and I'm going to put on an outer glow. I don't want the outer glow to be yellow. I want something more in this blue. That's kind of a cool looking electric blue there. I might lighten it up just a smidge. And I'm going to click OK. And I'll click OK there. And that's what I want to do with that social media logo. All right. So that one, again, just kind of think through. You don't have to do everything just like me, but look at the kinds of things I'm doing. On that one, I did a transform and I moved it to a new location. I put an effect on it, right? On this social media thing, you know what? I have decided I'm not going to use it. This is one of your options. I don't really even like that piece that much. So I'm just going to click the eyeball and turn it off and leave it off. I don't want to use it. All right, so I'll go on to the Twitter logo and I'll turn the Twitter layer on. Control-T here, and I'm going to do a similar thing to all my social media stuff here. I'll make that slightly smaller, get it in place, and I'm going to put on that same, I'll go to the FX button and I'm going to go to outer glow. And you'll notice things like an outer glow or what's called sticky. The settings stayed right where I left them, right? They didn't change after the last outer glow I did. So I kind of want the same outer glow, so I'll just, use it again. Let's go to the Facebook logo. You'll see a bit of a pattern here. I'm going to do Control-T, and I'm kind of lining these up here at the top, and I'm going to do the same outer glow on that Facebook logo, that blue outer glow. All right, I'm going to skip this wave layer for a minute, but I'm going to use it. I'll come back to it. I'm going to finish up on my social media icons here. The Snapchat, I will transform it. I'm going to bring it up here. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Want it to kind of tuck in there for me. And I'm going to do the same outer glow that I did on the others. All right, I'll click OK there. And then there's also a TikTok icon. I don't have a TikTok account and doubt that I ever will, but excuse me, a lot of other people do, and that's okay. All right, so I'm going to put an outer glow on that and click OK. So that's my idea with the social media, like the Instagram, Twitter, and all those. They're kind of lined up. These texting hands. Ooh, okay. Here's what I'm going to do with those. I'm going to do a Control-T, and let's bring those. Oops. I didn't want that. I got to get on that. I got to select that layer. And first of all, I'm just going to see if I can grab it and move it. Yeah, I got it. All right. Oh, look, feathering. I'm going to do a Control-T, and with the texting hands, I'm going to make them bigger. Kind of do like I did with the laptop. I'm going to tilt them a little bit, tuck them down here in the corner, and maybe drop their opacity some. Might even play with the blend mode a little bit. Do like an overlay blend mode. I'm going to bring that opacity back up now, though. Now that I did the overlay blend mode. All right. I kind of like that. You can see those down there in the corner. What else do I have? Oh, Mr. Wink emoji. I'm going to turn on Mr. Wink emoji here. I'll turn that layer on. And again, I'm going to do a Control-T transform. And watch, I'm going to make this dude really big. Really big. Put him right in the middle. And again, you know, sometimes people see me do something like that and think, man, you just ruined it. I don't think so, because I'm going to play with the blend mode, right? I'm going to just kind of experiment with blend modes here and see what I feel like I like. Ooh, hard mix is really wild. Some of them are really wild, and so, ooh, that's pretty subtle. Oh, I'm playing too long. I might go with just overlay and lower the opacity a little bit. I don't want him to be overpowering. Now, another thing you can do is change the order of the layers. If I would like for Mr. Wink emoji to be like tucked underneath some of those things, I can change the order of the layers. Now, I've got one more layer I'm going to play with, and I'm going to be done. This wave right here. First of all, you can tell, if you're looking at it right now, you can tell that the Snapchat logo is on top of the wave. I'm going to bring this wave up to the very top of the stack so that the wave is in front of everything. It's on top of everything. And I'm going to do a Control T for transform. And I'm going to hold the Shift key here. So the Shift key allows you to stretch it out in any direction you want. If you don't hold the Shift key, it will kind of stretch out in both length and width. And I'm going to put this like right over here. And again, this is another time when if you look at it right now, you're going to say, well, gee, you're covering up your social media icons. But again, I'm going to play with blend mode. I'm going to come along here and look at different blend modes to see what I feel like I like. That color dodge is pretty darn cool. Vivid light, I'm liking that pretty well. That's a little much. Ooh, what did I just have there? That saturation. I think that's cool. I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with saturation. And you could lower the opacity some if you want to fade it down a little bit. So here we have it, right? I've done it. I've worked my way all through there. And I've made all the decisions that I wanted to make. And that's kind of what you got to do here. You got to play with the pieces. You got to play with all the layers. You can transform them and move them around. You can change their blend mode. You can change their opacity. You can change their stacking order. You can add things like drop shadows or outer glows or whatever you feel like you want to add. But the goal is to take the file from where it was at the beginning and make it dramatically different by doing these kinds of things on all the layers here and just see what you can come up with. This is a creative endeavor. You just got to jump in and do it and see where you wind up, right? And so when you get done, I would recommend coming up here and doing a save as file and save as and like change the file name. It's going to be called blend modes. So if I were you, my advice would be put the word like done on the file name so that you'll know that's the one that I'm finished with. Right? That's the one I did. It's finished. All right, so I believe it is your turn to try this out. Let's go to work.